Sahana Bhavatu, Sahano Bhunaktu, Sahaviryam Karavavahe, Tejasvina Vadhitamastu, Ma Vidvishavahe. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. In reference to chapter 11, Vishvarupa Darshana Yoga, we are capable of interpreting this chapter in two different ways. The one of them is to get lost into different symbols and worlds that are spatially away, or we can also use the same chapter like anything. You can interpret it in a way that something that serves us right now while living on earth. That is a attitudinal change. And we have chosen to look at chapter 11 in more of a attitudinal change, so it can help us directly in our day-to-day life. And what it actually takes, and what is the palam, what is the benefit of Vedanta? What is the benefit of having looked into our lives, into our emotions, into our opinions about ourselves, about those who are close to us, about politicians, about food, about house, about neighbors, about money. So it really does require some thinking, something that we can by ourselves take a moment and just reflect without any interruptions, and you just look at different areas in your life. So the result of that is what we call Vishwarupa Darshanam. And per chapter 11, this darshanam, this vision, has or requires two particular factors. And the first one is it requires a physical eye. That means you need to have open eyes and look at the world, which we all come into this world blessed. Yes, we understand that some do not come blessed with this, but it doesn't mean that they're not capable of learning. They can still use hearing to hear the knowledge. But in a particular case of us who are looking at the world constantly, when are we not looking at? The moment we wake up, we have our eyes open. So that is an opportunity in itself to practice the second factor, which is Divya Chakshuhu. And this Divya Chakshuhu is just training the mind to recognize all that is here that we see is the total physical body of the Lord. That means we're never not looking at the total physical body of the Lord. Just like you look at your own body, you're never not looking at your body or experiencing your own body. That is in the same case, we're never not experiencing the total physical called Virat or Jagat or Vishwarupa Darshanam of the total whole, of the total Lord Ishvara. And in order to have this Divya Chakshuhu, we touched briefly last session, we need to have a certain requirement. We don't just have this Divya Chakshuhu blessed by random. It requires an effort on the students, on your and my part, on the part of the practitioner. The one of them is we need to have a managed life, because if you don't have a managed life, then your eyes probably not going to be spent too long on inquiring about the vision. That means the total body of Ishvara. It's going to be more towards how to resolve the ongoing situational demanding tasks that arise throughout the day. So this means if I haven't looked into my life and I'm not lying on a firm managed foundation, that means the finances are still in a mess. There's some conflicts in the house. So all of these are one more extra component to tackle. And that means one less chance or one less opportunity to look into the vision, into myself, into my relationship with the whole. And this managed life in itself implies a prepared mind, because if you walk into someone's place and like a teenager's office, they don't have an office, the teenager's bedroom, and you look at their bedroom, it's maybe some of them, it's a mess. And it's actually a good metaphor, because usually that mess represents or reflects the teenager's mind. So in that same way, if someone's life is not managed, if it's in a mess, and usually our adult lives are like a teenager's bedroom, but it's in a more subtle way. There's some, we'll cover it up and we sort of like pretend like it's not there, but it's still there if we look honestly into it. So it requires thus a prepared mind. A prepared mind just means a mature mind. That means a mind that is not so quick to judge, for example. Because suppose someone walks in and they say, this is not making sense to me, I'm out. That means they're not allowing even 1 hour or 1.5 or even a week to actually grasp or consider if what is being said might be true. So this is what it means to have a prepared mind. And this prepared mind then is capable of grasping this Vedantic knowledge, this teaching, which we have studied in particular in regards to Vishvarupa Darshanam, chapter 2, which I've explained before starting chapter 11. That means a total vision. That means after Mahabharata, remember we went into the essence. Chapter 7 and chapter 9. These are the major chapters which provide the vision of the whole. So these chapters are capable of being assimilated once the mind is prepared. Now, what happens if you have Vedantic knowledge? That means you hear chapter 7, chapter 2, and chapter 9 of the Gita. And of course, chapter 15 and chapter 18 is also there. And the mind is not prepared. What's the consequences? It's the same as, for example, Ravana in the Ramayana, who, it's a metaphor, when he saw Rama was right there. You can see Rama as the Lord, as the teacher who's capable of showing the vision and thus helping the person to fulfill the highest vision in life. But Ravana's mind was not ready. So only to the non-readiness, he didn't see Ishvara Darshanam, even though his eyes were opened, but only to the absence of his Divya Chakshuhu, he could not see someone or the only one that could actually help him or give him what nothing else can compare to, which is self-knowledge. So in other words, Ravana right there and then on the battlefield missed the opportunity for the teaching. And that implies maybe another lifetime, but there's no guarantee you'll find a teacher in the next lifetime because life is not linear. There's so many zigzags that we have to get through. Now the question is, why hasn't Ravana recognized divinity in Rama? And when we say Ravana, Rama, you can just say that why does not a student or someone that's sincere in their seeking, why did they not recognize a teacher who is just there to provide the vision? The reason is, as we said, number one, they haven't questioned their own opinions about the world. So this means they come in with a habit to judge. So this means I've been judging the world, now I come to the teaching and I just continue through the momentum of judging the teaching in itself. So that in itself means I'm not going to get the opportunity to assimilate this knowledge. That's what we mean by a prepared mind. The other is because, and this happens very often, is because the intellect and the emotions are disbalanced. Either, this happens also in anywhere, the person is either identified with their intellect, and most of they like to hear teachings that are intellectually oriented. And the other side likes to hear teachings that are emotionally oriented. This means they're attracted to emotionally speaking words, and the other is emotionally to intellectually speaking concepts. Now, think about this. If the person is attracted to one and they find the other side unattractive, that implies that that person is disbalanced. Because just to be attracted to one and not the other means I am identified with one and I don't have the other in order. This means that in itself is going to be an unqualified mind to fully hold the vision, which I'm so much looking to. So the teacher is not about being, one side or the other. It's simply showing here's both sides, intellectual and emotional. And it is up to you, or it is up to us to look into both so that I may live as a balanced human being. So this is not about identifying or preferring intellect and the other side preferring, let's talk about emotions and so on. And both of these concepts, this balance and emotions, they're all addressed in chapter 13, which I will cover in extensive detail because we will go through a book called Value of Values by Swami Dayananda. And it is a long book, it's 130 pages, and I will get us all to read 20 values that are significantly crucial to assimilate, thus to have our mind hold the vision. So that's going to be a very interesting chapter. You'll like it. Now, what is this Vedantic teaching that we speak of? This teaching that leads to the assimilation of Vishvarupa Darshanam, or the appreciation of that. It is that Ishvara manifests in the form of the material universe. That means right now, whatever you see, you're seeing the material. That means you open your eyes, I see nothing but material. Whether I'm looking through the microscope or through my own eyes, I'm still either way looking at material. And that material is not away from Ishvara. Now this requires, okay, so what does this mean? It means that I no longer look at material as inert matter. Before it was inert, like dead. It's just, it's just why you praying to dead matter? Why you, doing namaskara to Ganga or to the ocean? You just H2O particles. Why are you doing all that? Because the one that's doing namaskara recognizes something that the one who's criticizing doesn't. And that is, I am only ever praying or doing my namaskara to the material cause, which is not away from Ishvara. So this is why, even if one understands the full vision, they still continue their devotion, because their understanding is all that is here is the one which is the truth of many. And that one I can never be separate from. I can never be not looking at that one called Ishvara. So this means devotion to objects does not contradict non-duality. If my vision is clear, if my clarity is there. So this requires attitude training, this kind of recognition, because what do? When we open our eyes since childhood, how do we usually look at the world? As just an object, right? Like butterfly, okay, big deal. So this means it requires a shifting, a training, a consistent training in order to see something more than I'm seeing as just a mere object. And how do you see this? Through scriptural study, which is why ongoingly this course is about reminding us to think like this, because the moment the person stops training, thinking that, no, it's okay, I've got my lessons, now I can continue my life. Immediately what happens? The old habits come back. That means the vision that I so much look for now starts to dissipate, gets replaced by the same old narratives that have been occurring that I've tried to get away from in the first place. So this is why it's crucial to continue one's study, at least on a regular basis, so that the program doesn't slowly come back, because then it's back to square one. And we also use an example. We said, you got banana, you got apple, you got laddu, for example, and just ordinary fruits, right? But the moment with divya chakshuhu, which is another name, third eye, and when we say third eye, by the way, what really mean is that eye which stands in between, which witnesses both left and the right. That means I am the witness of either this or either that, but I am neither. So it is an eye of non-duality. That means I am neither right, neither wrong, but I am that one in whose presence right and wrong are known. That's what the third eye really is referring to. So this is divya chakshuhu. So with this, it becomes prasada, these fruits, because they are Ishvara's material cause. Therefore, from that moment, immediately, an ordinary banana, ordinary apple now becomes sanctified, becomes holy, becomes sacred. So this means I don't need to look in the future to see sacredness. It is something that is possible right now, right here, through mere recognition by an understanding that all that is here is material, which is not away from what I am seeking, which is the one. So this means that this perspective as a result of this divya chakshuhu is, of course, not about looking in a different loka. This is how it can be interpreted. But rather it is a manner or a mentality born out of scriptural understanding. So that's the whole point of these scriptures. To reassign, to refocus, to reshift our distorted notions and align them with reality. And this Divya Chakshuhu has been blessed to Arjuna by Lord Krishna, who temporarily, so Arjuna thus is able to now see ordinary things and see them shine with vibrancy. Just like when you were a child, a small kid. Remember that time when you were young? You saw like an ordinary butterfly, and yet it was like the most gorgeous, it just made you so happy. Remember that? Or you just saw like a turtle or some insignificant item, and you were more happy then then your house right now, then your spouse, then the food, then the holidays. Put all of those things together as an adult, it doesn't even come close to just seeing an ordinary butterfly as a little child. So the question is, why? What happened between then and now? Who can answer this?
Learnt habits of thinking that clouded over.
Yeah. Yeah, good. So Lloyd is saying that our habits have caused us to think, that means I do not see what is anymore. That means I overlay it with raga, dvesha, with likes and dislikes. Now, as a small child, are we intelligent? Are we that intelligent? No. Now, what do we say about buddhi ahamkara? Ahamkara is the I sense. They are never apart. That means the more I know, the more I categorize, the more I fragment things according to what I know. Therefore, the less I know as a child, the less fragmenting arises. Therefore, I see more of what is. But the more I know, the more I can put things, okay, the butterfly belongs here, the dog belongs here, this knowledge belongs here. In other words, owning to all of this knowledge, these notions that I have, they cause me to fragment the one reality into so many different realities that are not in line with the one that is already true right here, right now. If only we could just in one snap go back to that childhood mode, right? It would be awesome. But, you know, that's the way it is. We have things to overcome. It is a hard process. And because of this transformation that Arjuna is now enjoying, he's also having a strong emotional transformation. It's just like if you got this Divya Chakrahu right now, and then you see, wow, you know, I haven't felt like this in such a long time. I forgot this feeling of union, of no separation. It would be definitely something that will be emotionally touching for you, no doubt. So this is how Arjuna is now feeling. And he's expressing this wonderment in verse 15 to verse 22. Now in verse 18, this is the last verse that we stopped, there was an important section which said, Shashwata Dharma Gopta. You and I were born into an already existing world. Now, did you have to create the world in order to be born into the world? No. So the world was already here. It was already supplied for us. And this world also already came with physical and moral orders that were already in operation. So this means I came into a world whereby not only physical orders, but also all of the moral orders, dharmic orders were already there. So this means I have nothing to do with either physical or moral orders. They already are true. I simply, as a relative person, find myself in those orders. These orders that I speak of, they're maintained by the beginningless one called Ishvara, not you and I. How is something permanent? Because these orders are now permanent. They're called sanatana. They're permanent orders. How do you maintain something that is permanent? Something that is permanent and true, how do you actually maintain the order of that when it's disturbed? Eliminating whatever disturbs it. For example, do you need to produce health in your body? No. It comes already supplied, does it not? Okay. So so health is a natural order. We can call health sanatana. It's a natural order which every human being comes with. You don't need to say, like, now that I'm born as a person, can I have some health? It already comes supplied with it. Now, what happens when that which is there gets threatened by disease? When something disturbs that natural health, what happens?
Seek help.
Yeah, the immune system automatically eliminates that, does it not? Okay, so whatever is there automatically gets eliminated by a natural order. So in that same way, when dharma, when the rhythm, when the natural order of things is disturbed to a great extent, then the immunity principle of avatara takes place. Okay, so for example, suppose there is in your stomach, you drink something poison that is not deadly, but it's something poison. what happens then? We have a purging avatara, right? It's a purging principle. Now, are you doing that, or is it automatically there for you, done? So, something is disturbed, the health is disturbed. What happens? Automatically, there's an inbuilt system called purging. We can call purging avatara. What happens when there's a dust in your eye? We call that tear avatara. What happens when there is a cold? We call that sneezing avatara. In all cases, are you doing any of that? Are you saying, okay, now there's a cold, let me, do some reprogramming and sneeze? It is done of its own accord. That means it is inbuilt. So in that same way, whenever whenever this dynamic principle, this harmony, this grand order gets disturbed to a great extent by human beings, then automatically Bhagavan's sneezing avatara gets manifested and blows everyone away. It eliminates those who are disturbing the order. So this is what we mean by avatara. The reason I'm saying this is that because often we tend to think of these avatars as, everyone's an avatara. My teacher's an avatara, that person's an avatara. No. In order for an avatara to be automatically created, to be manifested, it has to be in a large ratio of dharma to adharma. But today it is not that different because, for example, in USA, you've seen a situation, it is 50-50. So this is the general state of affairs. Anadim matyantam ananta viryam, ananta bahum shashi surya netram, pashyami tvam deepta hutascha vaktram, swatejasa vishwamidam tapantam.
I see you as one who has no beginning, middle, or end, with limitless power and endless arms, and the moon and the sun for your eyes, and a mouth like the blazing fire, who heats or energizes this world by his own light.
Shashi Surya Netram. So it says that Krishna is, Arjuna says, your eyes are the sun and the moon. So what does this mean? So every sense organ has a presiding deity. For example, Agni Devata is a presiding deity of speech, your vak. So Agni means fire. Now, does anyone know why is fire the presiding deity of speech? Okay, there's two reasons actually. So what does fire do? First of all, fire illumines because it's light. It provides light. So this means whenever you speak, you can either illumine, that means you can enlighten a subject. You can bring knowledge. You can remove ignorance, that means to light up. But fire also, fire also burns. It also causes hurt. It's like sharp, piercing. Okay, so Agni Devata is the one who becomes thus the speech organ of Ishvara. Or Surya Deva is a presiding deity of the eye. Why? Because the sunlight or light in general, without it, the eyes are unable to see form. Therefore, Surya Deva becomes the eye of Ishvara. Thus, it says, Shashi Surya Netram. Krishna, your eyes are the sun and the moon. And then, Deepta Hutasha Vaktram. So this Agni Deva is also the mouth of the Lord. Why? Because just like the mouth swallows everything, so does fire burn and destroy. And this mouth is going to become quite a prominent word very soon as we get into the verses. So take note of mouth. Vishwam idam tapantam. This means the one who scorches earth with the heat of your sun. So this means when you're bearing discomfort, humidity next time, where if it's hot or if it's humid, then you can remember, oh Lord, I am intimately experiencing your Vishwarupa right now in a form of humidity, in a form of heat. And what does this do? It makes it a lot more bearable. It's like serves as a shock absorber, something that is uncomfortable. Because you will notice that whenever we get uncomfortable, or overwhelmed, we lose sight of the big picture. Not that knowing the big picture, all pain goes, but losing the big picture, the pain is much higher. So this means next time, whenever something happens, whether it's situational, whether it's relational, whether it's physical, then we always maintain in that moment, we can remember, hey, this is just Vishwarupa Ishvara. And that in itself can alleviate or make things easier so we don't get overwhelmed by the situation. Dhyava prativyoridam antaram hi vyaptam tvayaikena dishascha sarvaha drishtvad bhutam rupam ugramta vedam lokatrayam pravyatitam mahatmam.
Indeed, this space in between heaven and earth and all the quarters are pervaded by you as one form. Lord, seeing this wondrous, frightening form of yours, the three worlds would tremble.
Dhyava prativyoho idam antaram hi vyaptam. So the gap between earth and heaven is pervaded by you. The gap between earth and heaven. So obviously there's an in-between that we will talk about. So this is a metaphor. Earth is the feet of Bhagavan. The upper sky is the head of Bhagavan. And the central portion, the gap between, that is the entire universe. And this is often symbolized in Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is often called the blue-necked one because the blue represents the sky, the heaven. Obviously, his feet are also the earth. And what is in between the neck and the feet? What is Lord Shiva wearing? Mala. Consists of what? Many ornaments. What do the ornaments represent? All of the planets, all of the stars, galaxies, objects in the universe. So in other words, Lord Shiva, the Lord himself, is wearing the entire universe on his neck. What beautiful symbolism, huh? Okay, the Shashcha Sarvaha. In all 10 directions is your body, says Arjuna. That means four north, south, east, west, 4 intermediary, north, east, southeast, etc. And 2 for up and down, which Robert was saying last week. So this equals 10. So this also means that Arjuna, because he says in all 10 directions, it also means that he's unable to measure anything. Because how are we used to doing things? We're used to measuring things. The best, the smallest, the largest, the biggest, right? But here there's no measurement. You cannot put a definitive value onto anything. Why? Because opposites are both at once. This is called Vishwarupa Darshanam. Whereas we only see one object at a time. And then we go, okay, so this is, and then I can put a measure onto it. But Arjuna has no privilege. He's seeing everything at once without any definitive value. Idam adbhutam rupam drishtvaha. So because, says Arjuna, I am looking at your rupa, that means your total body, from my personally colored vision, including what is considered, according to my opinion, favorable and unfavorable, including worrying about the future, what should happen tomorrow. Because of all of that, I am unable to see the obvious, says Arjuna. Because all of this baggage is preventing my vision from seeing the obvious. As I described as a child, you don't have that baggage. Thus, I am seeing a simple butterfly and it gives me all of the joy in the world. And now, having, continues Arjuna, forgotten myself as this person called Arjuna, who bears falsehoods, who bears me and mine, who bears the ahamkara, knowing that all of that is now suspended, Lord, you alone are. Because the person called Arjuna, the person called your name, is not there personally coloring in the vision of the whole. Ugram Rupam. Now, for the first time, Arjuna sees here the aspect of the total on the other side. That means he sees the opposite, that is destruction. So Arjuna is now starting to see, he's been seeing pretty things so far. Now he's going to see something that is other than pretty. So what does he see? He sees the fiery mouth of the Lord, symbolizing the destructive principle. So it's funny that we all admire the Lord's creative and sustaining principle, don't we? We all like birth of a child and, sustaining our health. All of that is fine. But when death, destruction, and ending comes, it makes us uncomfortable. That means the Laya Karanam, the one who resolves. And that's exactly why we're going to talk about what is most uncomfortable in this session. Because if I don't talk about it, then the vision is incomplete. We cannot live in this, okay, it's all pretty. We need to also see the other side of creation, which is not apart from creation, destruction. Ami hitvam surasangha vishanti kechidhitaf pranjalayo grananti swastit yuktva maharshi siddha sangaha stuvanti tvam stutibif pushkalabhihi.
Okay, these hosts of good people are entering into you. Some who are frightened pray with hands folded. The group of rishis and siddhas, yogis, having said, let there be well-being, worship you with praises full of meaning.
I continue the description.
These hosts of good people, Sankara says, are the devatas, like the Vasus, as well as good men who have come down to remove the burden upon the earth. This burden is not the population, as the Malthusian theory claims. According to Robert Thomas Malthus, the economist, the population increases at a faster rate than it means of subsistence, and unless it is checked by war, among other things, there will be widespread poverty and degradation. But it is not population that burdens the earth. It is the growth of adharma, that burdens the earth. The company of any number of good people is not a disturbance, but if there is one problematic person, everything can be ruined. It is something like eating a bad peanut. No matter how good the other peanuts are, once the bad one enters your mouth, that is the end of it. Your mouth and stomach are spoiled.
Continue.
Here too, the weight upon the earth is the predominance, prakrya or adharma. That is why Bhagavan said that he would come whenever there is a decline in dharma. Yada yada hi dharmesha. Yes. Not whenever there is excess population. In order to cut down the weight of adharma, these good people come. Even individually, adharma does weigh you down. Wherever you do a wrong thing, it pains your heart. That is the weight. When it becomes predominant upon the earth, these people who are born of the devas come here in the form of human beings. All of them are entering into you, Arjuna says. These various human beings, manushas, who have come here from Devalokas, are all entering into Bhagavan. What does it mean? It means I see them dying.
Okay, that's enough. Thank you, Kelsey.
Okay.
So this verse generally brings out the attitude that we have towards the whole, depending on what we understand right now. For example, Sura Sangha Ami Vishanti. So all devas, that means throughout existence, who are informed, who are educated, appreciate Vishwarupa with a prayerful attitude. So this means there are different lokas in this universe, and we're not the only ones, by the way. We're just one little place. So there are jivas all over, and jivas called devatas, who are informed and educated. They have a prayerful attitude towards Vishwarupa. Why? Because they have knowledge that this is all a material cause resolving into Ishvara. And even though these devas understand, even though that means your Lord, your aspect of destruction is frightening, they are mature, these devas, enough that they can face it with equanimity, just like creation and sustenance. That means they don't have any particular preference for either. Whereas we prefer creation and we prefer sustenance. But when it comes to destruction, we put it away, which we will talk about now. And they also understand that or apprehend that this destruction is the grand order maintaining the harmony in the universe. So this means we need to have that which removes the old in order to give way for the new. So therefore, this is a dharmic destruction. It is not a adharmic destruction. That's why we appreciate destruction in the form of dharmic destruction. For example, a cell destroys what? A toxin in your body. That is called a dharmic destruction. If it doesn't, your body would die in 24 hours. Toxins get released constantly. If they didn't, again, the person would die. That's called dharmic destruction. Whereas a suicide, that is called an adharmic destruction. So these devas understand that destruction is not adharmic, but in the reference to the grand order, destruction is dharmic. Kechid bhitaha. Now, the opposite. Minds who are uneducated, that is yet to remove the false notions of Ishwara's reality, that means they're in the process of removing, their relationship with God is one of fear and wrath. For example, if I don't do my puja for one day, then Bhagavan will punish me. In India, they call it Bhagavan will cut your nose and put chili powder. You heard that, Meena? Or you will go to hell, right? The common statement. So it is fearful. And the irony is that fear supposedly, we're not saying now this is definite, but it supposedly is required to keep the person superficially dharmic long enough until the mind becomes discriminative. For example, did you notice how the government recently increases the fines if you violate the COVID rules? Especially here in Melbourne, right? Like it started at what, $1,000, then $2,000, then $5,000. Why do they keep increasing the fee? Because it creates more fear. Thus, it sustains that, quote, superficial dharma long enough until the person is able to make a discrimination on their own. No, I shouldn't violate because I would then, produce an extra, put more load onto the society. So until the person recognizes that by their own discrimination, they need that governmental, that external push in the form of fear.
I'm not clear on that destruction that you discussed.
Okay, so sure. So
my question is, and the point where I want clarity is, why do we fear destruction? Especially as a human being, I'm fearful of death. Yeah. And I have to see the things that, okay, one thing going away, it is giving the way for the new thing to being born, right? Yeah. I don't have that perspective in mind. Whenever I see deaths of near and dear ones, or maybe anybody, I feel fear. Why this fear is it inbuilt in us? In human beings?
Yeah, sure. Now, I don't know if it's inbuilt or not, but one thing is for sure is that we don't get, our relationship is not correct in the first place. That means we don't get educated in the positive light regarding the principle of destruction and death. Because often as a child, you see a loss of someone or someone takes a toy away from you and you're so attached to it and it, produces this sorrow. So associate sorrow and pain to things being taken away from me. So this means taken away equals no more equals destruction, therefore that equals pain. So this means our relationship through the course of years, especially as a young child, and because we're not educated, because others also shun the subject of death, right? They don't want to talk about it. Then we ourselves take up whatever is the default attitude in society. And we just adopt that. That's one of the ways why we generally shun away or fear death, because the associations are incorrect.
And even in this sloka, it says that when Arjuna saw the Virat Roop, he was not at ease. He had fear. And one point says because he was not able to being one with that particular Rupa, he did not see himself. It was other than him. Therefore, he felt fearful. That's also not clear to me, if you can spend some.
Yeah, well, that's exactly. Yeah, exactly. So Arjuna, we can now relate to him. So this is called a mind that is not completely mature. This means we look at 2/3 of creation, sustenance, but the last third is still missing. So this means we need to evaluate or reorient our relationship with the process of dying. And also the question of, why. Now, there's probably too many variables to know why. But what is important is that we always have the opportunity to reassign that relationship now in the present. And actually, the next few verses are going to speak about destruction a lot more.
Just one last point,
Yes.
We also, in the shloka, it was also mentioned somewhere that he got the Divya Drishti from the Bhagwan himself. Divya Drishti means a new way, the new perspective of looking at things.
Yeah.
Did that Divya Drishti also not fix his view of looking at him, so he shouldn't have felt fearful?
Yeah, that's why, because the samskaras are so powerful that they're able to still override what is being witnessed. Because who's looking? There's still a sukshma sharira, a subtle body that is witnessing. But that sukshma sharira is also having its own past stories. This means it is still, even though it's given a gift, it is still able to, put its own opinion about what I'm seeing.
Okay.
For example, when a lotto person wins money, what happens usually? They lose the money within a year. So this means even though I've given you the resource to make your life or to see the world in a different way through the use of money, because the person's general program is still running, it's able to override that privilege. Rudraditya vasavoye cha satyaha vishweshwinau marutashchoshmapascha Gandharva yaksha sura siddha sanghaha vikshante tvam vismitaschaiva sarve.
The Rudras, the Adityas, the Vasus, the Sadyas, the Vijayadevas, the Ashvins, the Maruts, the Ushmapas, and the host of Gandharvas, Yakshas, Asuras, and Siddhas are looking at you being struck with great wonder indeed.
This Vishvarupa is not only accessible to Arjuna, but it's also accessible to whoever has worked hard for this Divya Chakshuhu through their own efforts. And now, who are these people who have worked hard for this Divya Chakshuhu? Ushmapaha is the Pitru Devatas. The Pitru Devatas are according to the 14 lokas, one of them is Pitr Loka. This is the loka of ancestors. So in the Hindu culture, the sukshma sharira of the departed ancestors live in the Pitra Loka. And in the Hindu culture, it is apparently something that they have an annual remembrance. Now, furthermore, you can't specifically put a sukshma sharira in one single loka. So because the jivatma goes to whichever loka depending on its karma. So you can't just say all jivas go to Pitra Loka and that's where they are. Some of them get reincarnated back on earth, some of them go to Swarga, some of them are in Pitra Loka, but Pitra Loka is just one of them. And then Sarve Vikshante, all of them, including the Rudras, the Vasavaha, the Ashwinau, and the Marutaha, all of them are wonderstruck by Vishwarupa as much as is Arjuna. So this means in other higher lokas than earth, there is no need for a Divya Chakshuhu because it is a much more purer loka. Only on earth one needs to do this purification process. Okay, now the destruction aspect is going to start being described between verse 23 to 30. Rupam mahate bahuvaktra netram mahabaho bahubahu rupadam bahudaram bahudam shrakaralam drishtva loka pravyatitastataham.
Krishna the mighty armed, seeing your immeasurable form of many mouths and eyes, of many arms, thighs, feet and stomachs, and of many protruding teeth, the people are afraid, and so am I.
Because he separates himself from this vision, he is afraid. That is what is pointed out here. It was said the Lord gave him a Divyakashas. If he had included himself in the vision, it would not be Divyakashas, but Jnanakashas. Had his vision been non-dual, he would have gained fearlessness, Abhyam Padastam Vindati. It cannot be a source of fear because you can only be afraid of something other than yourself. If there's anything other than yourself, however small, that division is enough to cause fear of everything else. What is not you is so vast, it is infinite, and you are so very small and insignificant. If you see something as big as the whole cosmos, minus yourself, as Arjuna did, you'll be even more frightened. Even what is in the range of your limited perceptive powers is too much to deal with. Everything seems to be so big.
So regarding this mouth, it is not a physical mouth, by the way. Imagine reading now chapter 11, you see this mouth. Instantly the mind's going to get big mouth. Got it. The mouth symbolizes the principle of time. And time destroys. Because the moment the time goes forward, it paves the way for something new. Now, can you think of time without space? Because in order to think of time, you need to think of some kind of an object. And that object has a certain duration to it. And you go, okay, so that duration is the time. So time and space are always entwined. They're never separate. And can you think of time and space without an object? No, they're never apart. Time and space are never separate from Jagat. And this Jagat is called Vishvarupa. So this means time, space, object is Jagat. And Jagat is time, space, object. They're inseparable. Or let's just say this, it's impossible to imagine creation because when you say creation, what are you including? You're including objects, are you not? It's impossible to imagine creation without simultaneously bringing the factor of time and space into it. When we think of this vast creation, okay, so the creation came, and then objects, took place, and then galaxies were born, and then planets came. All of this implies not only objects, but also simultaneously space in which the creation took place, and also time, which is there in order for creation to take place.
Why there has to be space? Can't we do without space? We have time and object. Well, what is space doing here?
Space is that which accommodates things.
Well, 2 points in time has a space between them. So it's by definition, time has space.
Yeah, good, Martin. 2 points in time has space in between them. If I measure from now to now, something took place. Whatever that something is, there's an object in that something, whether it's a thought object or a physical object. So in deep sleep, for example, when your world, that means Jagat, that means world, when it's resolved in deep sleep, not only do objects go away, but so does your experience of what goes away. Time, space also resolves. In other words, you cannot think of objects unless you also include time and space in them. And then upon waking, that means either through your dream waking or through your waking, but just general waking, along with objects, what comes also? Time, space also. That means wherever there is an object, time, space simultaneously comes into that. So what can we extract out of this insight? It means, number one, I don't need time, space to exist. Because it's pretty clear you exist in deep sleep. But there is no time, space in deep sleep. Because there's no objects in deep sleep. It means also I am other than time, space. Thus the Jagat. Because the Jagat, time and space are never apart. I am independent of time and space because it's pretty clear you don't go out of existence in deep sleep when there's no time and space. Meaning the end of time, the end of space is not the end of self. It's not the end of you. Because every single night, time and space disappears, but you don't disappear. That means you are other than time and space. And when we say about time and space, it is never apart from the Jagat. And what is the Jagat? The entire universe. which means what? You are other than the entire universe, independent of Vishwarupa. And it also, the second insight is, time, space is intrinsic property of creation, that is Jagat. Also, in Sri Rudram, time is called Kala, by the way, in Sanskrit. Now, in Sri Rudram, Lord Shiva, which is the Lord of Destruction, is associated to time. And there's a nice line there in Sanskrit, which says, Kalagni Rudraya, Nilakantaya, Mrityunjayaya, Sarveshwaraya, Sadashivaya, Shriman Mahadevaya Namaha. In other words, I prostrate to the Mahadeva, to the great Lord of Destruction called Shiva, who is also in the aspect of time. So this means that the destruction aspect, when I say destruction specifically, I'm talking about loss, talking about death, I'm talking about disease, I'm also talking about decay. When I say loss, loss of ignorance, that's also called destruction. So destruction is not only negative, it is also that which we all seek. Because when you're seeking knowledge, what are you actually seeking? You're seeking destruction of ignorance. So this destruction thus needs to be welcomed into our life as much as creation, as much as sustenance. Because if I only accept 2/3 of the total, that means I'm only 2/3 mature. Now, who here wants to be 2/3 mature? Any hands go up? I want to be 2/3 mature. No, we want to be fully mature, okay? So this means we need to embrace all three sides of creation. And thus Arjuna, because he's yet to embrace the last third, he soon gets frightened because he's yet to accept this Vishwarupa, that it has pairs of opposites. That means it has apparent duality. And this duality resolves into the one whole reality. But Arjuna, even though he heard about the previous chapters, he still has an integrated destruction. Therefore, the vision is not full. Now, if you look at anything, let's go into this further. If you look anything in your life right now, what do you see? You only see three realities. You see born is gone. Born is gone. Born Brahma is Vishnu. Gone Shiva. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Cell is born. Cell sustained. Cell dies, only to give birth or to give way to another cell. So this born is gone is the reality of this entire creation. Deep sleep, born. Deep sleep is. Deep sleep, gone. But I am not gone. So what's the human challenge then? We welcome birth gladly. You know, let's welcome a new house. Let's welcome a new relationship. Let's welcome a new job or something. And then we want to sustain it forever. Is that our general experience? I welcome it and I want to sustain it forever. This in itself speaks immaturity, because I'm denying the third aspect. Whatever was born, whatever I got, and whatever is being sustained is going to end sooner or later. So the mere fact that I'm trying to hold on to something in itself reveals my immaturity that is yet to be corrected. For example, anti-aging. That's a big industry, isn't it? What is anti-aging? Denying destruction, decay. What is health industry? 99% of the health industry is shunning the principle of decay and disease and death. In other words, I want to preserve what I have, and I want to avoid the inevitable. I'm not saying the entire industry is like this, but 99% is basically what it relies on. Death, dying, is that a comfortable topic to talk about in the society? Do you talk about death in a party? You know, let's talk about death, guys. No. In fact, it's even considered inappropriate. Hey, just don't bring this up. You know, we're just trying to have fun. But what is fun? Fun is nothing but creation and sustenance. Or what about death? Or relationship? What is the maturity of a relationship? It is to embrace all three stages of a relationship. First one is birth and union of the relationship. That's the first stage. Oh, I'm in a new relationship. Yes, thank you. Brahma, it is born. Oh, let's now sustain it. Let's work at sustaining it. Thank you. It is being Vishnu, the sustainer. But what do we usually now avoid? The last stage, and that is separation. Whether direct or indirect, by death or premature, it doesn't matter. It is still the reality. Whereas a person that is together is the one who has integrated all of these three aspects of this Jagat. That's what you call a person that is together. Now, in the case of Arjuna, who is still in the process of developing this maturity, that means integrating the third section, he is having a hard time because he cannot accept third. And we will see this in verse 20, well, we've seen it already in verse 23 to 30. It's kind of like going to a movie and there's a violent scene or bloodshed. What do? I'm going to close my eyes and wait for that scene to be over, right? In other words, we're selectively handpicking what is worthy of my time and what is not worthy of my time. This is called raga dvesha. This is the very idea behind this, not embracing the whole creation, especially destruction of bloodshed and violence. The point is, before watching a movie, you should already know, I'm probably going to see violence. If one cannot accept that, don't watch the movie in the first place.
We spoke about destruction and we said that, we are lacking maturity and therefore we don't embrace destruction in the same manner we embrace, the other thing.
Yes.
The problem is destruction and, the aging and the other bad factors that you mentioned, they're all unpleasant. It gives us pain. We are trying to avoid the pain. We're trying to avoid that ugliness that comes with the destruction. How can I embrace, something which is not at all pleasant itself?
How many things are being destroyed? Every word you say is destroyed in itself, isn't it? Because when you say one word...
That's not giving me any, solid physical pain. Death is physical pain. Dying is pain, Being unhealthy is painful. Getting aged is also painful. It's not a smooth ride. Right?
Yeah, it's not a smooth ride.
Relax.
Robert, you want to say something?
No, I was just...
Yeah. This might be helpful, Mina. If you look at relationships are not static. So if a man and a woman get together when they're teenagers, it's very much about romantic love and it's very hormonally driven. If you try to hold on and sustain that relationship at that level, it forces a natural relationship. If you accept that stage must die later, then it creates room for a new level of relationship to be born. So people can evolve together to different levels of understanding and awareness to accepting those three stages, because old forms need to die for new forms to be born. In that way, it can actually be a creative evolving process.
Can I say that death isn't painful? The reasons that you might be dying could be painful, but the point of death isn't painful.
Birth is also painful. I don't think most of us don't even think about it, because birth is painful for the baby. That is still the baby itself. He's coming into another world, and also the mother goes through pain. The father goes through pain. So, but we don't regard that as a painful. We regard it as a celebration. So it's no different from birth and death. It's just one coming in and one going out. So
Mina?
Actually, I don't think there's ever a pleasure without pain.
Mina, response?
No, I was just saying that the process of birth and the pain that we go through, it's not in our memory, so we don't ever think about it. Even the death is not in our memory, but we see the other people dying in front of us and being painful. Therefore, it looks ugly.
Well,
and yes, we try to avoid it.
Is it really painful? That in itself is something that we can reevaluate. And even if you read all of the stories, which I've read personally, Mina, near-death experiences, and those patients who are in hospitals, it is the same story. Death is like, it's just like the most gentle thing. It's just like gliding, sliding into death gently. You ask the nurses, and I've specifically looked into this because it's going to come up sooner or later. All of the nurses will tell you the same. Death and pain, that is not true. It's simply not true. Realistically, every patient who dies reports it's just the most natural sliding. It's not even like going to sleep. It's just so normal. No pain whatsoever.
I'm glad to hear that.
Mina,
Okay.
there's a nice book, Mina, Body Keeps the Score. It's a very good book to read, and it tells you about what Andre just said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm personally very interested in death experience, and I've read so many about them because obviously you want to know about this, right? What is death like? So we don't just talk about it, but I tell you, it's always the same thing. It's and even those who come from near-death experiences, they say, I thought it was painful, but now having come back, I am not afraid of death at all. In fact, I remember one person saying, whoever thinks that death is painful is clearly wrong. I remember him saying this, and he died 9 times. He had a heart attack 9 times. So he's like an expert on death.
Well, that could be the same thing said about being born, because if you're going to say that being born is when consciousness awakens, if that is the point of being born, then that's not painful. But the experiences of the world of after your consciousness and your experiences are starting to happen, things happen in the world which can create the pain. You're just the awareness. It's in the awareness then. So what are you talking about being born? You talking about the body being born, or the awareness being the self? You know.
Yeah, good, Martin. And also that just brings me another point. You see, the death process is actually, it's not like that. It's gradual. Because Bhagavan, it said Bhagavan's order in itself. Bhagavan wouldn't create a painful death in the first place. What kind of a creator is that? What happens at death is your prana slowly starts to recede. Your mind, all your senses start to recede themselves. So that means you lose a sense of pain. And now I know they say, they give patients the pills because they're experiencing a lot of pain and cancer and all of that. There is another option for the individual. They can take that medication. However, generally, because you don't know how you're going to die, right? Generally, it is not painful at all because everything slowly recedes into an unconscious state.
I think, Andre, I think what Mina is saying is actually, she's talking about the people who are seeing the death. It's very painful, and that brings a fear in us. When we watch death with our close ones, then we become fearful and think death is such a painful thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my question was generic, it was not specifically about death. I was saying that destruction seems ugly. It does not look like a very pleasant thing. So how can we develop maturity to embrace something which is not pleasing, which is not pleasant, which is painful, which looks, depressing, which looks sad? Yeah. How should we create that kind of maturity to embrace everything in us?
Yeah. Chapter 8, I've talked about death extensively. Chapter 8 is all about dying.
I don't want to die right now.
Chapter 8 is awesome, yeah.
If you've got a really big stomach ache, and that stomach ache ends, then you've got no pain anymore.
Yeah, you're relieved, right?
Then you're relieved. So the stomach ache has died, is gone.
Good, Martin. So this is about an attitude change. That means death is not only, it's that which releases us from an undesirable event or a circumstance or something that we don't want on us. I want the death of a mosquito bite. Nabhak sprasham deepta maneka varnam vyatananam deepta vishalanetram drishtva hitvam pravyatitantaratma.
Indeed, seeing you, your form, as one touching the heavens, effulgent, of numerous forms, open-mouthed and with large brilliant eyes, O Lord Vishnu, I, whose mind is deeply disturbed, do not find courage or composure.
I could just keep reading, just a small section.
No worries. Arjuna saw Krishna everywhere. So now he addresses him as Vishnu, the one who is all-pervasive, an appropriate word. Here he is literally being seen as Vishnu. Arjuna sees Krishna here as one who touches the heavens, nabha sparsha. It means he sees no end to his form. Everything is pervaded by him.
Deeptam anekavarnam. You are effulgent, O Lord, with millions of stars, planets, manifold colors, because they all abide in you. Drishtva hi tvam pravyatita antara atma. Seeing this mouth of protruding canines, this is what Arjuna is now seeing, my innermost heart is frightened. It is disturbed, tormented. For this reason, Shamam Chavishno, I lost my peace of mind. I am restless. So now the reality is starting to dawn upon Arjuna. For example, in old age, what happens with our immunity? It is weakened. Every disease in old age is stronger, isn't it? It's not like I have the right to talk about this because I'm much younger than. Therefore, every disease comes. Loneliness comes in old age. Because who wants to be around a sick person? People go away in old age. It's easy to speak health when we're young, isn't it? But you ask anyone in their 60s, 50s, 70s, it's a different story. Easy to get, talk about this health and be strong and be vibrant. But that same person, when they're in their 60s and 70s, the reality dawns upon them. They see no matter what they try, how many pills, the immune system simply doesn't hold up. This is the reality that we have to face. And this is the reality that is now striking Arjuna. Because before it was all roses, right? Oh, young, just drink some protein powder and go to a restaurant and, do your health exercises. But that's only for a short amount of time in the young age. Damshtra karalani chate mukani drishtwaiva kalana lasannibhani desho na jane na labhecha sharma prasida devesha jagannivasa.
Indeed, seeing your mouths, which have protruding canines and are equivalent to the fire of disillusion, I do not know the directions and I have no peace. Be pleased, Lord of all gods, Lord in whom the world exists.
Okay, again, Arjuna here is seeing only mouth. Te mukani. That means your mouth with protruding teeth. The mouth that symbolizes, by the way, pain caused to individuals. Because what are long teeth? Once they hook you, pain. This makes me uncomfortable, O Lord. Kala anala sannibhani. And this mouth that I speak of, it is like the fire of disillusion. Now, what is this fire of disillusion? When new Brahmaji Day comes, then there's a 5-element process that happens that creates this universe. And this 5 elements manifests in a seeming order. That is, first space comes, then air, then fire, then water, then earth. It's not like they come in an order. That's why I say seeming. But if you were to put it in order, it would come in this way. Now, at the time of pralayam, that means Brahmaji night, that means when everything resolves, as the scientists would say, when the entire universe goes into a singularity, then this order is reversed of this 5 elemental creation. That means the earth, that means the physical matter of the universe resolves into water. Water resolves into fire. And this process is called the fire of dissolution. That means this process is that into which the 14 lokas are absorbed. Hence, your mouth is like this, the fire of disillusion. It just absorbs everything that comes into it. Furthermore, dishaha na jane. Your mouth is pervading all over. I lost my sense of direction. Because direction is only valid from the standpoint of what? The sun. In reference to the sun, I go, north, south, east, west. Easy. Take away the sun. Useless. No directions. So the mouth is protruding everywhere. There's no particular point. There's no reference point which I can judge where am I. Here, there, left, right, up, down. Again, na labhe cha sharma. I have no peace for this reason, because I'm seeing so much swallowing in your mouth. In other words, the firmness of jnanam, of self-knowledge, is required to embrace all aspects of life. The firmer my knowledge, the more I can embrace destruction as equal to creation and sustenance. So Arjuna's jnanam is not firm. Ami chatvam drihtarashtrasya putraha sarve sahaivavani pala sanghaihi bhishmo dronah sota putrastathasau sahasmadiyairapi yodha mukyaihi vaktrani te tvaramana vishanti damshtra karalani bhayanakani kechid vilagnada shanantareshu sandrishyante churnitairuttaman.
And all these sons of Dhritarashtra, along with hosts of king, as well as Bhishma, Drona, and that charioteer's son Karna, along with our most important fighters, hurriedly enter your frightening mouths with projecting canines. Some are seen sticking between the teeth with their heads crushed.
Okay, so let's do verse 26 first. Verse 26 is basically what you resist persists. So Arjuna is resisting seeing this mouth, this destruction aspect. Thus Arjuna now sees not only the mouth, but he's seeing it in close-up, graphic details of this mouth. And how does Bhagavan swallow everything just as a human being swallows everything? Slowly. So does Bhagavan time slowly swallow us, human beings. Age, disease, weakness, death. Is that slow? Yeah, that's slow. It's not quick. First aging. Yeah, okay, I'm getting aging. That's psychological pain. And then physical pain, disease. And then weakness. The body just is not able to stand long or to do things for very long. And then death. Now, what is Arjuna seeing slowly gobbled up here? It says, Saha asmadiyaihi api yodha mukyaihi. Just when Arjuna had enough of this mouth, it gets even more dramatic. Dharmic warriors like Abhimanyu, Arjuna's son. Now he's seeing Arjuna's own son entering into this mouth, where things are being crushed. And Arjuna is unable to accept this. Imagine that, seeing this big mouth of destruction, and you seeing your own family members inside that mouth being crushed. Hard to accept, but it needs to be accepted. That's the whole point. We'll see now what it says about this. Verse 27. Te vaktrani vishanti tvaramanaha. These people are entering your mouth in a rush. Like a python. You know, a python keeps its mouth open like this. What happens when it keeps its mouth open? Insects fly inside unknowingly. They don't even know it's the python's mouth. And then what does the python do? In one little snap, all of those insects gone. It just rests there. Accordingly, says Arjuna, I am seeing what? Kechit vilagnaha dashanantareshu. Some people are caught in between the teeth. Add to that, churnitaihi utamangaihi. They are partially crushed. Head, leg, stomach crushed. Pieces. Now, what is this crushing symbolism of? It's a symbolism of disease in life. One by one, organ failure, kidney failure, liver failure, heart attack, hemorrhage in the brain. One by one, slowly, organ crushed. Despite our medical advances in our life, in our science, they can't be entirely stopped, can they? You can't entirely stop a heart attack or a kidney failure or hemorrhage. Can't even predict it. Therefore, prepare yourself now to ease the potential sorrow in the future. That's the whole point of chapter 8, facing death. So that when the time comes, there is no sorrow. Oh no, it's happening to me. Oh no, I've been talking about this in the Gita, but now it's my turn. It's actually happening. Therefore, it is vital that we prepare ourselves for the process of death before it actually comes. Yes, Meena.
I just wanted to know why Arjuna couldn't see himself when he was looking at that Virat Swarup, that everybody's dying there.
Yeah.
Why he did not see himself as dying?
Okay, good. So he's seeing specifically the warriors that are going to get killed in the war. He didn't get killed, therefore he didn't see himself. And his son, Abhimanyu, was also killed, therefore he's seeing his son. Dhritarashtra, Drona, Bhishma were all there in these teeth, in between the teeth, because they all died. So it's not like he's seeing himself, because he's doing what needs to be done, dharmic. So therefore, there is no pain for the one who is in line with dharma. Yatha nadinam bahavom buvegaha samudram eva bhimukha dravanti tatha tavami naraloka viraha vishanti vaktranya bhivijvalanti.
Just as many torrents of rivers flow towards the ocean alone, so too these heroes in the world of men enter your flaming mouths.
Even though it appears that rivers originate from the mountains, what is the fact in actuality? The ocean evaporates. From the ocean, water is evaporated. That water in the clouds moves over the mountains. That water then falls as rain onto the mountains, which then produce rivers. And all of those rivers eventually find themselves where? Back into the same ocean. Equally to this process, which all come from the one ocean, every jiva, including you and I, is like a river traveling to Atma Jnanam, self-knowledge. Another name is Brahma Vidya, by the means of Acharya and by the means of Pramana. That means a guru and a means of knowledge. And this leads to the highest fulfillment of human life. And any delay or sidetracking along this path is only due to the jiva's own distraction. That means moment-to-moment decisions. It's kind of like going to, from place A to B, and then you do too many stops, and then you get caught up. You find a friend, find some party there, and then just take a long time to get to your original destination. And that's only because of why? The moment-to-moment decisions that we are making every single day, including today. So every opportunity, every morning that you wake up, that is literally a new opportunity to say, I choose not to follow my old habits that I've done yesterday. Therefore, today is where the power lies. Never mind tomorrow. Every moment you wake up, there is a new opportunity to make a difference in your life, to move closer to the recognition and the permanently holding the big vision. In that same way, tatha tava ami naraloka viraha. All people he's talking about the people on the Kurukshetra, who take refuge in their house, in their spouse, in arrow or bulletproof vests, in guns, in weapons, in the position in society, in being someone known, someone popular. They're all entering your mouth anyway. All of that struggle to be someone in the society, they're all entering your mouth anyway, Lord. Yatha pradiptam jvalanam patangaha vishanti nashaya samrdhavegaha tathaiva nashaya vishanti lokaha tavapi vaktrani samrdhavegaha.
Just as moths enter glowing fire at full speed for their destruction, so too indeed people also enter your mouth with great speed for their destruction.
So this verse gives an example how living beings are rushing towards the Lord's mouth. So if you take a small insect, they're attracted to a flame in an oil lamp. You've seen this yourself, I'm sure. And what happens to these insects? They rush towards to the flame, to their own destruction, helplessly attracted by the brightness of the flame. And some insects are burned quickly. They just vaporize. Some insects get stuck in the oil and they die slowly. I guess it depends on the insect karma, doesn't it? Same thing with these people. Some slowly enter the Lord's mouth and they get crushed like that. And some fast. Le lihyase gasamanah samantat lokan samagran vadanair jvaladbhi tejo bhira purya jagat samagram bhasastava graf pratapanti vishnu.
Completely swallowing all the people with your effulgent flaming mouths, you lick again and again, filling up the entire world with brilliance. Your fierce flames burn, O Lord Vishnu.
Okay, so it seems that swallowing all people, Bhagavan has no sympathy. Okay, why does it seem like it? It seems because the person who thinks this, that Bhagavan has no sympathy, hasn't accepted death as much as birth. It's simple as that. That means they have a different idea about birth and a different idea about death, and there is a discord between the two. But in reality, there's no higher or lower ranking between them. For example, we celebrate birth, but then we mourn death. And because we do this, we suffer when death comes, either to close family member or to we lose something that belongs to us. Now, why don't we talk about death? This is Mina's original, what she brought up. The reason is because our relationship with it is loaded with false notions, number one. Have your parents ever presented death in a positive light to you? Very rare, very rare. Why? Because no one presented death in a positive light to them. Also in the USA, I read this recently, the nurses, because now they're being inundated with so many COVID cases, they said that the patients who are dying, literally on their deathbed, dying of COVID, they said the nurses were surprised. They're saying, the patients are saying, I cannot believe this is happening to me. The most common thing they hear. And they also report there is anger and disbelief. Imagine that you had all your life to prepare for the most important moment, and all I can do in the last stage is, I cannot believe this is actually happening to me right now. Why me? Why me, Lord? I am angry. That is not the kind of attitude one wants to carry in that precious moment. That's why we say it is critical to get comfortable with the dying process before actually dying. Therefore, chapter 8, which we have done. Why? Because addressing death in itself matures you towards your life. Those who have had their mom or dad and they see the death of their parents, there's a certain maturity about them. that those who haven't seen that don't have simply. You can feel it about it. There's a humility. And it also prepares you for the inevitable, because that is the reality of life. Everybody here will die. So this means that we need to spend some time looking into the dying process when it finally hits. That means don't wait when it finally hits. Prepare yourself so that when it does come and it becomes obvious, you can say, I'm so glad I went through chapter 8 and I spoke about it in a comfortable place. And now it is not as much of a big deal as it otherwise could have been if I didn't attend to this dying process. And this lack of Bhagavan's sympathy is shown in this one word, lelihyase. That means Arjuna says, you're relishing in all of this, Bhagavan. You're licking your own lips with all these people being crushed, and you're just licking your own lips. And along with that, in the entire second line, Arjuna then says, you pervade with your fierce heat of radiation, scorching, tormenting all people. Now, what's the symbolism of this? Kala, remember, mouth represents Kala, time, is affecting you right now. Because every moment, your body is getting older. In the last 1.5 hours, all of us are 1.5 hours older. That means we're 1.5 hours closer to funeral. Therefore, we are all being cooked, radiated by time. How many years of cooking? Well, some dishes take a long time to cook, don't they? That means they live a long time. And this makes Arjuna question the nature of God, because God is supposed to be all compassionate, all beautiful, what we usually hear. But now Arjuna is witnessing otherwise. However, Arjuna has also now seen that he actually won the war, because the people who are entering Bhagavan's mouth are those who are against Dharma. And so Bhagavan has alleviated anxiety of Arjuna, which is preventing him from engaging in the war in the first place. So that's the good news. Now let's close with verse 31, where this conclusion will come to its final. Akyahi me ko bhavan ugrarupaha namostute deva varaprasida vijñatumichhami bhavantam adyam nahi prajanami tava pravrittim.
Salutations to you, O Lord, the exalted among all gods. Please tell me for my sake who you are, having this terrible form. Be gracious. I wish to know you, the cause, because I do not understand all your actions.
Okay. Kaha bhavan ugrarupaha. Who are you, O fierce formed one, instilling terror? You seem to be worse than a terrorist. Akyahime, do tell, because I have doubts indeed. So what does this mean? It means only when problems torment, not just come, but actually torment. That means they stay there for a while, because Arjuna has been witnessing this mouth for a while now. It's not like it's a one-off. So only when the problems start to torment our life, the fundamental questions of life start to originate. Until then, we're too busy eating, drinking, and marrying. And what are these fundamental? That just means we're busy making money and enjoying ourselves in the modern world. Now, what kind of fundamental questions come? For example, why couldn't Bhagavan create a disease pain-free world? Why did he create the world in the first place? Why couldn't he only have Jivan Muktahas roaming the world? Why do you have to have seekers who are striving sincerely through lifetimes, struggling only to fail and then to struggle again a next lifetime to finally discover liberation? Why not just create Jivan Muktahas? That means one who is liberated right now. How come he didn't create a world of enjoyment only? Why add on top of enjoyment suffering? Fair question. Why would he allow adharma to percolate throughout the world and cause pain and inflict damage to innocent, authentic people? These are all fundamental questions that start to come when torment is witnessed for some time. Until torment comes, one's simply not going to think or bother about these questions. They're too busy eating, drinking, and marrying. So therefore, the nature of humanity is to turn our thoughts towards the Bhagavad Gita, like texts, the Upanishads, the Guru, in times of overwhelm. However, this kind of turning our attention is short-lived. This is called smashana vairagyam. I talked about this in Tattva Bodha. What is smashana vairagyam? Funeral dispassion. What is funeral dispassion? I only consider the fundamentals, like, oh, this is serious, and to think about death, only while I'm at the funeral. The moment the funeral ends, all of these fundamental questions dissipate, as though they never originated in the first place. This is also common in any class. A student comes, they're ready to hear the knowledge, but they have these preconceived notions because they're overwhelmed in life. So they want to address a particular section of life. And they do. They get helped a little bit. The moment things are okay, the relationship in their home is okay now, they stop coming to Gita because everything's okay in life. This is all called smashana vairagya. That's not how the teaching takes place. The mind by default accumulates notions, not only of its own past vasanas, samskaras, but also it picks up the news from the external environment. So it's always, that means that same mind needs to be consistently fed positive knowledge. This is why it's not like, let's come to class, hear 2 or 3 sessions, and then let's go away. Ugra rupaha bhavan kaha akyahi namaha astu prasida. Since I am unable to withstand the overwhelming terror, may you be gracious unto me, O Lord, and show me your pleasing self again, the one that I know to be, as my friend Krishna. Because having seen all of this, I now want to know who and what is your function of this universe in reference to the jivas. Considering all of the jivas are entering into your mouth, being crushed in between the teeth, what is your real function in this universe? Because so far, Lord, I have seen only one job description: eating and swallowing. What's more, Vijnatum ichami bhavantam adyam. What is the cause of this universe that was there before Srishti Karana, before creation took place? What was before creation? So the conclusion, and then we'll close. The conclusion is Arjuna is showing a third quality of an excellent student. I shared the first 2 qualities in the last session. What is the third quality? Despite Arjuna's fearful paralysis, seeing the mouth, swallowing and eating, and his intellectual disorientation, he wishes now to remove this confusion by asking Krishna, what is the purpose of showing me this terrible aspect of the one? That is an excellent quality of a student. Instead of putting it aside and saying, I don't want to see anymore, let's change the topic. And the answer to this, because Arjuna asked, will be, now Bhagavan is happy that Arjuna has asked. He will answer this, Bhagavan, between verse 32 and 34, which will take place next week. And then we will put all of this teaching into a practical, livable format. Today's session has been more about what Arjuna is seeing, the destructive aspect. Next week, we will see why have we listened to today's verses and how it is applicable in our life. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Andrea, I have a question.
Yes, please.
In You said the fundamental questions of life come up when we are dying. You said, why couldn't Ishvara just make us all jnanis? Why didn't he create a non-suffering world? Why didn't he create a non-diseased world? I'm still not totally clear on those points myself, to be honest.
Geez, those were rhetorical questions, meant for your own thinking. Which question specifically do we want to address?
Why couldn't he make us all jnanis? Why are we born ignorant?
Okay, let's engage in this question just for a moment. What do we think about this? What is your answer? What do you think, Thomas?
Well, I've thought about this so much, and I think we can't be born if we had knowledge, because if we had knowledge, then we wouldn't be reborn.
Yeah.
So ignorance, we perpetuate our own ignorance by identification with the ahamkara.
Yeah.
And that produces a dua, that produces karma, that produces another birth.
Yeah.
And in that birth, we are still identified with the ahamkara.
Therefore,
after that birth, we get knowledge, the shackles with the ahamkara is destroyed, and there is no rebirth.
Super.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, super. And because we get reborn,
yeah,
then we have to address what hasn't been addressed in the last life.
Yes.
That means we have to remove our identification with this limited individual.
But, and then maybe then the question is just not applicable anymore.
Yeah.
But there's still a part of me, so that's correct. The question isn't applicable anymore after what I just explained.
Yeah, good. So these are just hypothetical questions that the person postulates when these times of trouble begin in life. Yeah.
Okay.
So for them, it's not clear, but for example, you just answered it. So it's not applicable for you right now. Yeah. Because now to get up caught in the same question, it's like, why? You've just explained it well.
So I've answered my own question. I've answered that question with my explanation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's just still this part of me that thinks, why doesn't he interrupt that cycle? And anyway, I'll think about it more.
Yeah. Anyone? Any other answers? It's a great question.
Just on that point, what Thomas is saying, I also feel like we have a body now. We are in this present state. If we keep occupying ourselves with the thought of also the body dying, it becomes a very morbid phase of life. I think the more positive aspects of living is better than actually, we know death is inevitable, but to think about the body dying and accepting death all the time, we are forgetting how to live.
Good.
And this is why we are here as body and mind, and to experience that bit of living in life and realizing what is significant, before we pay too much attention to death, when we know death is going to happen.
Yeah, so it's a matter of understanding. Once you understand, you don't need to like readdress it over and over again because you understood it. It's like when you understand how to drive a bicycle, right? Why go and revisit bicycle?
Yeah.
Or ride a bicycle. Right. Good. So it's not a matter of now, okay, let's go through this process over it. No, it's just, okay, everything resolves into, there's nowhere to go except the self, back into the self, as the self.
Yes, Thomas.
Without the superimposition called upati of the 5 koshas. So death is all about just I am as I am minus the 5 koshas. No more superimposition of prana, of physical body, of emotions, of intellect, and of these samskaras. But that same existence I am remains as it is now. So nothing really changes, just the minusing of superimposition. That's death.
I think you can also ask who is dying and who is living.
Yeah.
Nobody's dying and nobody's living.
Yeah, good. Yeah, exactly. So again, it's the 5 koshas, So whenever we talk about dying and living, it's just all related to the 5 koshas. Because the appliance can die all at once, right? The machine can stop, the computer hard drive can die, but the electricity still remains electricity. So in the same way, I am, consciousness, remains completely intact. Yeah, so this means through this understanding, death is not so scary anymore. because you're just losing what is not mine in the first place, the 5 koshas, the 3 bodies, physical, the subtle, and the causal body. So it's actually to celebrate. That is a celebration moment. Some cultures, they celebrate. It's like to look forward to. It's like, I'm letting go of what is not mine.